Hello everybody, I got a request to go over the sewing sequence for this skirt. I'm going to go over the underskirt and then I'm just going to talk a little bit about the overskirt. So there's two ways that you can do this. This is the piece that I have for my presentation. I would want to have this pinned all together with the lower skirt all together on the dress form for the presentation part, but then I'm ready to actually sew it together so that it can be draped on for the overskirt. There's two ways to do this, and one way is the traditional way, is just I'm going to keep this together, or I should say I'm going to open it up. You're going to sew it just like a regular dart. So, whoops, sorry. You can just fold it over like a little triangle. You probably can see your markings through it, and just rather than using it like a pattern, you're just sewing down to the end of the dart, backstitch, take it out, and then the back dart's the same way, and then the side seam just the same way. So just place right sides together, stitch a regular seam down the side seam, and then open it up. And then I'll talk about the skirt in a second. There's another way that you can do this. I don't know if anybody is interested. I don't have a sewing machine here, so I'm doing everything by hand. This is called slip basting. It's sort of a couture technique. It's sewing by hand, and it's sewing from the correct side. So I have my needle here. Like usual, I put in a knot, but you can also just do a back stitch. So the point of the slip stitch, or the process of the slip stitch, is the same as the catch stitch. Catch stitch is moving forward. Let's see, the catch stitch is when your needle, when you're sewing, is going the same direction as your trajectory where you're going. Sorry, that's slip stitch. Catch stitch is when your needle is going the opposite direction as the direction that you're going. Slip stitch is going the same direction as your needle. Okay, so but the process is the same. I'm picking up a little stitch from this side of the fold. I'm picking up a little stitch from this side, back, forth, back, forth. So usually this is done on the right side while it's sitting on the dress form. Just a little pinch. A little pinch. And if I could get my head closer in, it would be much faster. It's faster, and it's kind of like a replacement for your pins. Okay. You continue along that way. So you'll get kind of a crisscross, but it's not the real strong twist that you get with the catch stitch. Okay, and same idea, don't get too tight, so sort of think loosely. And my stitches are about 1/4 inch. I'm going to go all the way up into the seam allowance, and then I'll show you a nice close-up view. So again, you don't have to do it this way, but if you don't do it, then just sew regular. I only have white thread, sorry. And just finishing it up. And most often, these are finished with a back stitch, but I think I'm going to knot it because I don't want it to open up. And just show you a little close up here. Okay, so there we go, focused. So it's loose, but it stays together. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay, so then I'll continue along. I'll do all these other ones, and then I'll show you the skirt part. Okay. So I did, let's see, where is it? That, there it is. And now I'm going to do the skirt. So the first thing I'm going to do on this lower skirt is the hem. I had mentioned that in the Zoom office hour that the hem that I have is wide. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking right now for a second about what I did before on my other one. Yeah, it's very wide. Okay, let's just keep it simple. I'm gonna draw in at the, so here's my hemline. At the end of my fabric, I'm gonna draw in my 1/2 inch margin for folding that under. Shoot, I'm not. Just gonna bring this over and I'm gonna use the pencil. I don't want it to go through. So 1/2 inch margin along here. Hopefully I'll be able to see that on the other side. This is the wrong side that I have up right now. Hard for me to see it. Okay, I'm gonna fold it. Usually I like to do it on the other side, but this side is so curly that I did it here. I'm gonna fold along that line and make sure it's all flattened out. And again, normally I would iron this. No, I feel comfortable using their iron. Okay, so I'm gonna go along creasing this and then fold it all the way up. So I'll come back when I have it all pinned at that point. Okay, so I finished my hem here, and next thing I'm going to do is put it back on the dress form to figure out how much gathering, where my gathering is going to go. So I'm going to be pulling up that thread, basting thread, again like I did on the draping part. I'm going to put the yoke back on the dress form. And now I'm going to pin the skirt where I want it. All right, and now I'm going to pull up those threads. Anchor them when I get it to fit. And then I'm going to spend some time evening them out. I want to make sure that my side seam is where I decided that it would be, and I'll pin there. Spread these guys out perfectly. Okay, and now I'm just going to pin these to the skirt. It's to the yoke itself, not to the dress form, because I'm going to take it off. Okay, now I'm going to take out my pins that are holding it to the dress form. And then lay it down. All right. Now I'm just going to sew this together, and I'm just going to sew it with a running stitch. First, I want to make sure that I'm actually aligned. Oops, no, I have to be blue to black. Okay, you can just fuss with it a little bit, but basically I'm just going to go, yeah, fine. Let's see, just going to anchor this. Okay, now I'm just going to go I don't think I'm going to have enough thread, so I'm just going to go from side seam here. I'll hide the knot in the back, and I'm just going to do a running stitch. So just, you can try to just distribute that as you go, but it doesn't have to be totally beautiful. Let's see, I'm going to go 1/4 inch stitch length, running right over what I did before. Try to even them out as you go. And of course, you can just do this on the machine too. You don't have to do it by hand. tell you, it's probably easier on the machine. Okay. Okay, at the center front, I will put another knot. This one becomes sort of unnecessary now, that thread. I'm going to take out my pins, and then I'm going to do the other side, which is from back to side seam. Because I didn't think I'd have enough thread. All right, and that's the end. Okay, so I'll do a separate video about the overskirt. It's just going to be a short one.